Before we jump in, I want to introduce you to Albert. He's the first AI agency advisor that I've personally trained. After looking at thousands and thousands of agencies over the years, I've mapped out 6 clear stages of growth, and Albert uses this to help you figure out which stage you're in, what's holding you back, and what you need to change next. All you have to do is answer 7 quick questions. It takes you less than 3 minutes, and you can check it out at agencymastery.ai if you want more freedom, more profit, and a smarter path to growth. So go to agencymastery.ai. All right, let's go get in today's episode. You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass with me, Jason Swank, and we're bringing you this episode courtesy of our friends at Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get into the show.
Hey, Ingrid, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, tell us who you are, what you do.
My name is Ingrid Schneider. I am the CEO and founder of Stay in Your Lane, and then also the founder of Train in Your Lane. I have 2 different companies, and that was kind of on accident. Stay in Your Lane is a fractional C-suite marketing company and also fractional franchise development, where do a lot of work in the franchise space, but also outside of it as well. And we love what we do. We also do project-based work, mostly marketing. So Meta ads, Google, all the things. Branding, we're really, really good at and we love. So that's what we do on that side of the fence. And when AI was democratized about 3 years ago, we found out that we were one of the first ones to the game and started talking about it. And people started asking me to train them in AI. And so I did. And I ended up a year and a half later rolling that off into its own company called Train in Your Lane. And we do AI trainings for large companies like Ben & Jerry's and Ace Hardware and Ace Handyman. It's been a fun journey and it kind of happened on accident. But just really teaching people how to have AI intuition and use AI tools in a way that can solve problems for them and help them do their jobs in a better way.
So how did you accidentally start the agency?
Well, starting the agency was funny. I was the CMO for a popsicle company and I rebranded it. And that was during the pandemic. And I got laid off because the owner was doing some things with the money that we didn't kind of know about. And I got a phone call one day and said, hey, we don't have any money to pay you. At that time, I'm like, okay, well, that means I don't have a job. So I walked away as the CMO. And decided that I wasn't going to work for anybody again. I had started things before. I had owned a body shop. I don't really have a linear career history, but I love people and I love marketing. And I said, I'm going to figure this out. And I have that kind of, I'm going to figure things out gene. So I started doing just fractional C-suite kind of CMO work. And it just kept growing. And people kept saying, Ingrid, I want to use you for XYZ. And I said, I don't have XYZ, but I can figure that out. And so trust was built and earned. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Yep. And if you're honest with your customers too, authenticity is the highest vibration, they say.
Yep.
They just want more, right? Even if you say hey, that's not my wheelhouse, but let's figure this out together. They're usually up for it. So what was just me about 3.5 years ago is now a team of 16 of us. And we do a ton of work. So have clients, we actually have clients like Bloom & Blinds where we actually run their whole marketing department, which is something that we can do because we have a huge team. And then we have clients who just use us to do fractional work, like build them an LMS or work on their marketing campaigns, or we do a ton of branding work, which is one of my favorite things to do.
When you were a CMO, did you hire a bunch of agencies?
Yeah, we did somewhat. I did a lot of the work in-house and myself. I'm a hustler and I do have that I'll figure it out gene. And we had a team, some designers that I worked with outside of it. Obviously, I'm not a graphic designer. I have good chops there, but not the most precise. And I know what I like to look at and I can kind of articulate my design vision to a designer and then have them do that. So we had designers, we did some outsourced marketing, some Google ads, but it was really, a smaller company and kind of rogue. So we really had to do a lot internally and figure things out ourselves.
Yeah. What did you charge your first client when you started the agency?
Nothing. And actually that person complained about my pricing too, which is kind of crazy.
Were they a pain in the ass?
Totally, which is kind of the way that things go, right? So $1,500 per month is what I was charging them. And I had 2 brands. So I was making $3,000 a month with them. And that's just ridiculous now looking back. But also, I think as a woman, I've learned my worth exponentially. And as I've built this and I've learned what people have paid. And, I was going off of like just replacing my salary instead of growing a business, right? Like I just was thinking about like me surviving only. And I could do that with 4 or 5 clients pretty easily, giving them a fraction of my time and not building an agency. That wasn't what I was after.
So how did you learn your worth? What were some of the lessons that allowed you to do that? Because there's some people that have been running an agency for 10 years. They still don't understand what they're worth.
So do you want to talk about trauma? Because that's, I think, kind of the unraveling of who I am.
I want to make you cry. No, I've never made against cry.
I know. Really easy, yeah, Jason. That's a really easy thing. I'm an empath. You know, I was raised in a really religious place in my life. And I don't think that religion is bad necessarily, but like for me, it did a lot of damage. And I didn't know what I was capable of. I did. You know, my dad taught me how to work. We owned waterbed stores growing up in a mall. That was literally part of my life. I was raised in a mall. So I was always at work with him and I knew how to sell at like 6 years old. I could sell a waterbed. I could sell you waterbed conditioning. I could sell you sheets. Like it was fun upbringing. So I knew how to work, but I think my work came from doing deconstructive work in myself, but also just doing the work to be a better human. There's a lot of things that changed me. I think knowing my worth and my privilege, like what happened to me, I did a ton of nonprofit work. I managed a band called Dispatch for a while, which some of your listeners might know, some of them may not know, but they sell at Madison Square Gardens. They're a huge band, but their heart is all about giving back. And so I also managed some of their nonprofit work in Nicaragua and working in the trash dumps in La Chureca and then in Pine Ridge, South Dakota, which is the poorest place in the U.S. It has an infant mortality rate, the highest in the Western Hemisphere. The average life expectancy for a male is 47. For a female, it's 53, which means like I'm almost dead. You probably are dead, right? Alcohol rate is like 90%. Unemployment rate is like 95. Like it's just, actually the alcohol rate may have been gotten better in the past couple of years, but it's just a crazy, crazy place. And really doing work that gives back, I think healed a lot of parts of me that I didn't necessarily know needed to be healed. Thinking that I'm going to help people. And really what happened is they helped me, right? And just seeing my own wounding and living through experiences that are so different than mine, being able to say like, oh my gosh, like I actually am very privileged first and foremost, but also know that like I'm capable of so much and being able to stand back and look at the world in a different lens. I think that we're so raised to just push ourselves forward instead of like bringing people up alongside of us. And I think that's really where I figured out like I have the power to bring people up alongside of me. And I've done that a ton in my company. I love collecting good people. And sometimes I'll bring people on that don't have experience because like they just have the grit and the want. So I've also done a lot of counseling and a lot of spiritual work and regained my spirituality in a different way. So there's a lot of layers to that.
Yeah.
Talk a lot about empathetic leadership. I actually do speak on that too. And I believe in empathy. And I think empathy heals a lot of things.
There's so many people when they start their agency or they start to become an entrepreneur, their main focus, like their destination they feel like is to sell for a ton of money. And they go, well, I'll have fun after. And then they neglect their health. They neglect being time with their family. They neglect all these different things. And I'm like, man, if, for example, the past year has been tough for me because I had a foot injury that I had surgery and then I was on this knee scooter forever and I wasn't that healthy and it really fogged my brain. And it was just like, I couldn't think right. Like I didn't want to do certain things anymore. But then once I got that fixed, I started getting healthy again, man, like I'm on fire. I was like, and you could just totally concentrate. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, you have to, work on yourself first, because then you can take care of other people. Then you could take care of your business after that, like in that priority. And since I figured that out, it's been a game changer for us.
So I would love to teach you something about what you're talking about and what happens to us when we're in the fight or flight mode and we're not taking care of ourselves. So there's a term called flipping your lid, and it's for emotional overload. And it happens to a lot of us founders, and it's why we say really stupid things when we're not meaning to. So
that's all the time for me.
Yeah, you react, right? So this is your brain. I have my hand raised up for people that are watching this not listening to this, but it's basically a fist. The front part is your prefrontal cortex. This is where everything happens, your reasoning, your logic, your abilities. And what happens is the feeling part, which is the amygdala, flips. And this is actually a chemical reaction in your brain. And then you're just sitting back here in your fight, flight, or freeze. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
Rationality. Dr. Daniel Siegel talks about this a lot. And it's actually really, really helpful for your kids to knowing that they're like, when this doesn't all work together, they actually like lose control and they're back in here. But we also go back there when we're doing surgery, when we lose loved ones, when we're overworking ourselves too, our brain actually gets tighter. And that can also not be flipped, but like in times of stress, things go, and then it doesn't work because it gets super tight. Really, really interesting emotional regulation things. But when you have your surgery, you're on pain pills and your body is focusing on healing was it your leg or your knee?
Yeah, my foot.
Your foot. So your body's focused on healing your foot. So your brain actually isn't online like it should be, right? And that's what we do to ourselves too. And I think boundaries for me and running an agency have been huge. And learning how to really say yes and say no to what really fuels me. My team gets frustrated sometimes because they would love for me to be in all the meetings, but I'm like, I'm not going to that. Like, you guys have that. I trust you implicitly. Like, there's times when I can be like, yes, I want to dig into this project, or no, I don't, because it's important for me to understand where my value is and what is best served for me and the company. And then also recognizing when my team's lid are flipped or when my lid is flipped and I'm acting in that fight, flight, or freeze and giving them more grace and more empathy, or stepping back myself going, dude, I just had foot surgery and I am not okay. Like, I need to focus on my body.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember years ago, I've told this story a couple times on the podcast, but for people that have not heard of it, it might help them. We were probably maybe 5 years into the agency. We were doing a couple million in revenue and I was depressed. I hated it. Like, I was like, I don't like any of this anymore. Like, my wife even was like, why don't you go quit? Like, go take a job somewhere. Like, you're miserable to be around. And I remember taking an interview with a company to be a CMO. And they asked me like a couple questions, but 2 really stuck with me. What do you want to do every day? What don't you never want to do again? And so I went home that night and I really started thinking about it. And kind of like your fist, thing of the brain. Like, if you think about, put your fist on a sheet of paper, draw a circle around it, and then concentrate for maybe 30 minutes of all the stuff that I hate doing, that I never want to do ever again, right? That just drains the shit out of me. And so I put that outside the circle. And I start with that first, like process of elimination. And then inside the circle, I was like, what gives me energy? What do I like doing? And I started doing that. And so then what I realized is I don't have to quit the agency. I actually control the agency, but I can build the agency around me. So then I can say yes or no to the things that I love. But like, I see too many people saying yes to everything. I'm like,
Happens.
what are you doing?
It totally happens. And we can't be all people. We can't be all things, right? We can't be all people, all things to all people either. So it's really important, I think, to draw boundaries and to understand, like, where am I the most, we're talking about our worth, like, what's fiscally best for me in the company? Like, my hours have a dollar amount. So like, where should I spend that dollar amount, right? And what makes us the most money as a company, but also what fills my cup. And I think that's a huge thing of actually not having to do the things that drain you, right? And there's part of being a business owner that's always going to drain you. You have a P&L going, okay, we had a great year, or we had a shitty year, or this is failing and that's doing great. Those wins and losses, they're always hard, but also those are some of the most beautiful lessons. It can drain you. It can get exhausting.
Look, your agency adapts for every client, right? Your builder should do the same. That's why Wix Studio is built for the way you actually create. AI-powered site mapping lets you get straight down to the design. Whether you shape things in Figma or start in Studio, your vision's coming to life quicker with no-code animations and built-in responsiveness. And for client growth that actually scale, you've got extendable business solutions and a dynamic CMS. Scale your agency at wixstudio.com.
The thing that drains me and probably drains a lot of people is like, especially when you have a great month, then you have to start over. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I could beat that month. Like, that was a really good one. And then you're like, oh crap, I didn't do it. Right? Just the emotional highs. If you're looking at it on that perspective, if that's success for you. But I always like to tell everybody, I'm like, your top line revenue doesn't mean anything. It's about really kind of like, are you enjoying it first? Is it giving you self-worth? Is it profitable? Right? Because I've seen a lot of businesses that do millions and millions of dollars, but they don't make much money. And the owner works all the damn time, can't take off at all, go have fun. Like they don't like what they're doing. And they're like, I want to sell it because they can't figure out that one part, which I think at the end of the day, if you think about it, and I'd be curious with you, are you a good manager or do you have to hire people that manage themselves?
I've actually spent a lot of time, I think being an empath, I have my moments where I'm a great manager and then times where I'm like sometimes too sensitive. I've learned a lot under the foundations of what's called TBRI, and it's trust-based relationships, and it's for kids, but I've taken a lot of the processes over to adults. And I think...
Aren't we all kids though?
Totally. But I've taken a lot of it over to adults. And the things that I've learned are when I'm managing people, I'm always going to look at myself first. Is there a problem? Where is the problem? Is it really with me? Am I impatient? Or am I not being kind to them? Or did they catch me on a bad day? So really evaluating that first with myself. And then secondly, I will go to systems. Do we have the systems in place to support them? Are they struggling or do they suck because I'm not giving them the resources that they need or the systems or how that looks? Then lastly, I go to the person. And I think I can be a good manager. I think it takes intention on my behalf. And it really takes me slowing down and looking at the person first rather than the outcome. I think we get so focused on perfectionism. Perfectionism is never the goal for my agency. I don't want anyone to be perfect. That's just stressful and not attainable. We talk about that with our clients all the time too. We're going to do a freaking good job for you. And you're going to have some really good, amazing things. But we're human. We're living a human experience.
We're going to screw up too.
And I think people, when I go into my client meetings and start like that, that just diffuses people. And they're like, oh, okay. Perfectionism is never the goal for my team. And then evaluating systems all the time. How can we make this better? And using AI, how do we make this cleaner? AI, I think, has become part of my business. And people talk about how I've scaled so fast in the past 3 years. And it's really because we've used AI tools, not to create AI slop, but just to really take the minutia that kills all of our brain cells and all of our souls and democratize that and really use education to build AI intuition and then use those things to take the stuff that we don't want to do off our plate.
Yeah, no, that's smart. What I realized with me is I just don't have the patience. And me personally, I have to hire people that can manage themselves. But they can manage other people under them, because I've always been the mindset where, hey, I could do that in 5 minutes. That should take you 5 minutes. But I don't realize that mine might be a little different because I've coming from 25 years of experience doing this. So I can do that in 5 minutes, or I know what screw to turn versus, doing all the research. It's just second habit. But then I see someone, I'm like, I told you to do it this way, do it this way. But then that's not what I want. I want them to just get the outcome that the client actually wants versus just do it the way I have, because there's probably 1,000 other ways to do it of what I've learned over the years. And so, when I learned that about myself, that's when we could grow faster, because then I wasn't fighting against
empowering people.
Yeah. It was like, hey, this is what we want. This is where we're going. Do everything to get there ethically and legally.
Now,
and I'll always back you, and we'll always learn from it. Right. So,
yeah, I think when you give people the freedom to do their own work, there are times where I get frustrated because I know how fast I move through things. You're probably the same way, Jason, right?
Implement fast.
Could have done this 1,000 times. I think actually probably why we're successful as entrepreneurs is because we do move fast. And I think that's part of I don't dilly-dally. I need you to not dilly-dally either and not pontificate about things. I need you to make choices and feel strong in your choice and move forward. But also, I have come to really appreciate some of my team that does move slower sometimes. I had a designer working for a long time, and she was slow as Methuselah, but her work was immaculate, and the clients were always super, super, super stoked on it. So it's sometimes too, in the slow pieces of things, people are moving slower. They come back to me with results where I'm like, I would have never thought of that. And that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And it took you 3 hours longer than I would have done. But that's the work we need. That's, rad.
Yep, exactly. Well, I want to wrap up the show talking about a little bit more about how you guys have implemented AI to really kind of assist your team, right? Because everyone thinks, and a lot of people listening to the show, I mean, they may think AI is just going to ChatGPT and having it write something for you. And it is so much more. So without going over tools, because they'll change next week, and I want more of like a framework of how you think about it.
I can totally do that for you. So let me break down that we started with education first. And AI intuition is the skill that everyone needs to have happen in their lives. So it's about learning how to look at an AI tool, understand how it works and how it will help you. And the only way you can do that is by learning. And you can learn in a bunch of different ways. I changed my algorithm on my TikTok and my Instagram to really teach me about AI. And there's all these little micro learnings that people are putting out there that you can constantly learn about tools. So my team we're high on education. Obviously, we also have education, and I do education for big brands. So we do. So that's part of it. The next part is application. And that's where things start, like the magic starts happening, where you actually see those aha moments when you're starting to apply what you've learned and how you're learning it to use cases. So the thing is that you always want to look at something that you're doing in your agency and say, like, can I solve this with AI? And that's really where the wins happen, right? People are like, I can't slow down to speed up. And that's just backwards thinking. You need to slow down. You need to slow down to learn. Some of the big wins that we have and have had in our company is from like collective learning. And I encourage all of our clients to do this when we are working with them with AI, or on the other side, is to actually have a weekly show and tell. So every Thursday morning at 8:00, my team comes together. It's an hour meeting, and people kind of book times on there, and they all need to be booking time at least once a month to show me a project and how they used AI to solve the problem. We also have AI policy that's pretty rigorous, but it feels more like a permission slip than a detention slip, because we talk about safety a lot, but we want people to use it safely. And so we write policies, and we've written one for internally so people can actually go out and try the tool. So they'll text me and be like, Ingrid, on Slack, hey, I found this. Can we like explore this and try it? And I say, yeah, cool. Like put it on the credit card. You have a month to figure out how it uses, like how to use it. And if you can implement it in all of our system, I'm totally down, right? So giving them the freedom to be explorers and go out and learn is like one of the coolest ways. And then they report back in those Thursday morning meetings. They're like, okay, I tried this new tool. Here's the security on it. Here's what I figured out. And it's going to solve the X problem. And then the team looks at it and they say, yes, we want to commit to this, or no, we don't. I see people churning tools all the time. So if you find something that you like, commit to it for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Before you start something else.
Well, I think the big thing too is AI changes so quick, and there's so many freaking tools out there. Some are completely crap. And I think a lot of us get overwhelmed to be like, well, I don't know. But I do like what you're saying. It's kind of almost like a 3-system framework, right? If you think about it, change the algorithm for when you go on social. And that's pretty easy. Literally just start following some people, that talk about AI, watch some of their stuff, and talk in front of your Alexa about AI. It will show you all that. And then I like how you were saying, like, when you do something, how can AI help us? And then I like how you have your whole team looking at it and exploring it, because right now, when I chat with a lot of agency owners, they're the only ones leading it and their team's against it. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to be overwhelmed because there's just too much out there for you to go through.
Yeah. I teach at DU, Denver University up the street. We're both in Colorado. So it's a great school, but I teach in their marketing classes a few times a year. And the kids are telling me that they're looking for jobs and that they're asking about their AI knowledge base or their AI like use cases. Like employers are actually after that now. So, if you're not an agency owner and you're looking for a job, or your team's looking for a job, if you're not empowering them to use it, like you're absolutely hindering. And we're not talking about AI slop. AI slop is out there. I actually did a post about it yesterday on my LinkedIn. I post a lot about AI on LinkedIn. That's just, it's messy, right? Agents just writing stuff for the sake of writing stuff. That's not what we're using this for.
No, it's, and I'm so glad that you're teaching and you're actually running businesses, because all my professors, they never practiced business. They were going off a textbook. And that always gave me disdain for traditional education.
On this, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. The only thing I learned in college was how to outsource because I outsourced my work.
But you're a good agency owner.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and being resourceful, right? That's the number one trait I look for is like, if you don't know something, say you don't know something and go figure it out and really dive into it. I mean, that has to be one of your team's core values based on what you
And we
explain.
need solutions rather than problems, right? Like, I don't want to hear your problems. I love your problems, but let's solve them. Come to me with 4 solutions when you come to me with a problem. Like, and I'll be like, yeah, this is great. And helping them, I think, do that kind of thinking too empowers them to feel more ownership and more value in the company.
We've always implemented the 1-3-1. One problem, 3 possible solutions, and then what do you recommend? And you do that enough, they'll stop coming to you and they'll just solve it.
Which is amazing, right? That's what we want. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And if they mess it up, it's a learning moment, right? Like we only learn from our mistakes. We don't really learn from our successes.
Yeah. Perfectionism is never the goal. I tell people that all the time. It's about doing a really good job, but not perfection.
Awesome. Well, this has been a blast. Thanks so much, Ingrid, for coming on the show. And for everyone listening out or listening, make sure you like and subscribe. And for those that want to be around other amazing agency owners, we're putting on an event in Phoenix that we'd love for all you to come to a live event of curated agency owners sharing what's working, what's not. We have some amazing guests, but amazing brainstorming. So make sure you go there, check out elevatemyagency.com. And until next time, have a swank day.